What's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to be filming this video for you. I think it comes at a time that it's a little bit random. It's not like an anniversary of me quitting. I haven't recently quit my job, but I have been seeing a lot more quitting my job comments on just like TikTok, YouTube. I've been seeing statistics that people are quitting their jobs at rapid rates. I think now that people are returning to the office and they realize, this isn't for me. So I thought that this would come at a good time. I wanted to film a video all about what to do before you quit your job and what you should do before you quit your job, coming from someone who quit their job 2 years ago. Before I get into the actual tips, I also want to say that this video is more so what to do before you quit your job and kind of like do your own thing. I don't have experience in quitting and going to another job immediately after. So this is more of like what to do when you're kind of quitting to go on your own. But I still think that you can relate to it even if that's not your exact situation. I also want to give you a little bit of a background of my story because a lot of you might be new here just coming from this video. You guys are anxious to quit your job and I can totally relate. So I actually was working for Accenture. It's a consulting company and I was working for them for only 9 months. I graduated college in 2018. I started working a few months after graduation and I quit in May of 2019. I quit because of a multitude of reasons, but mainly I was making enough money on YouTube, on social media to be able to quit my job, and it was enough that I felt comfortable to quit and still have an income on social media. I have a whole video explaining why I quit my job right when it happened, so I will have it linked down below so that this video doesn't get repetitive in case you've seen that video. But that's my situation. I wanted to thank today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace makes it so easy to design your own website, and it's perfect if you are quitting your job and venturing off on your own. Whether you need a website, which I'm telling you, if you're starting a business, you will, but if you need one for an online store, you need one for a blog, you need one even for your own personal resume, Squarespace has you covered. They have the most beautiful templates no matter what you are creating, and it just is going to help you get your business up and running. They have data analytics so you can really keep track of where people are coming from. They also have 24/7 customer support, but if you are quitting and you are looking to start your own thing, start your own business, and you want to level it up, you need to use Squarespace. It is by far the easiest and most customizable website builder. You can use my code for 10% off, Natalie Barbu, or go to squarespace.com/Natalie Barbu. Let's get back into the video. And before we get started and before I let you know kind of tips that I would give before quitting your job, I want to kind of explain my exact situation as well, because I think that I do have a lot of privileges that someone watching this video might not have. So just for comparison's sake, just for someone watching that, you know, wants to know if my situation is similar to theirs, I just want to explain my thought process as well. I come from a position that I am a college graduate, so I did have a degree. I had a degree in industrial engineering, so I always knew that I could fall back on that. Worst comes to worst, if I quit and I end up failing miserably at what I'm doing, I knew that I had a degree to kind of back me up. I also have incredibly supportive parents. My parents were on board with me quitting and they thought that it was a good idea. I didn't have parents that were against it, so I did have that support system, because I do think that it can be very lonely and isolating if you quit your job and no one is supporting you and no one really believes in you. So that was another thing. And I also had another source of income that I had been working on for 8 years at that point, so I did have another source of steady income coming in, so I was 100% fine to quit my job. I had a lot of money saved, and I also didn't have any debt. So when I quit my job, I had no debt. I didn't have student loan debt, and I did not have credit card debt or anything like that. So that is my position. I think that it's very important to say that, because some people might look at these quitting my job videos, they might look at people who quit their job and are doing fine, but they have a totally different situation than those people that they're watching. So I want to be as transparent as possible and let you know where I was coming from. Because if you're someone who, you know, maybe you're really unhappy at your job, but you have hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that you're trying to pay off, you have to come and look at this situation in a different circumstance and a different lens than I did, and I think that it's important to note those privileges that I had versus other people might not have those. So I just wanted to say that to be as transparent as possible. So when I quit my job 2 years ago, I was doing YouTube full-time when I quit, but I knew that I didn't only want to be a YouTuber. I wanted to do something else, but just with my having a full-time job, it wouldn't allow me to explore those opportunities. So I really took the time when I quit to figure out what I wanted to do, the business I wanted to start, and kind of what my next steps would be. I would say my first tip before you quit your job is to know what is next. I cannot stand, and I'm just gonna be blunt, I can't stand videos, TikToks, Instagram posts, whatever, that just tell people to quit if they are unhappy. That to me is the absolute worst piece of advice someone could give, because it looks glamorous online, and you can make anything look glamorous online. I do it all the time, people do it all the time. It's what the internet is for, to add a little glamour, to add a little bit of, you know, make things look aesthetic, make things look pretty. But I cannot stand when people say to quit your job if you're not happy. If you're unhappy, remove yourself from that situation, remove that toxic workplace, remove blah, 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 all of that. It really, really, really bothers me. So I never, ever, ever wanted to be that person. I never wanted to be that person that encouraged people to quit their job if they just didn't like it. Because you know what? Most people don't love their job. Most people are not obsessed with their job and oh my god, it's the best thing in the world. That is also a privilege in itself, to be so in love with your job and to have an amazing job. So I understand that most people are not like that. So I never wanted to encourage just quitting just because. So I just want to make that very, very clear. And while I also don't encourage, okay, if you're unhappy, if you're miserable, if you hate your job, just stick to it, doesn't matter. No. So that's why I'm making this video, so that you can have tips and prepare yourself to actually quit your job. So my first tip, like I said, is to know what comes next. When I say know what comes next, I mean, what are you doing after you quit? Don't quit on a whim. Have a plan. Whether that is another job that you have lined up, whether that's going back to school, whether that's starting your own business, whether it's working for yourself, whether it's taking a gap year. If that is something that you want to do and you can afford that lifestyle, then whatever it is, just know what comes next so that you can prepare for it. If you're someone who wants to quit because you are dying to find a new job and you don't want to work for yourself, but you need to figure out a new workplace because you absolutely hate your job, I think that's such an amazing goal to have, but have a plan for afterwards. So whether that's applying for jobs and having one lined up, whether it's quitting and starting your own business, whatever it is, just know what comes next. Don't just quit on a whim, because those TikTok videos, those YouTube videos, those people that are encouraging you, they probably had money saved, they probably had money coming in, they probably were relying on someone else for their financial needs, whatever it is. I promise, majority of people did not just quit and had no idea what they were doing and that was it. And you know what? Maybe some people do and it works out and that's amazing. I just wouldn't encourage it, because I just don't encourage it. I don't encourage it. I'm a planner. I'm a planner when it comes to that. I don't take risks when it comes to money in that sense. So I'm not gonna be that one that's telling you to quit on a whim. Know what comes next. Number 2, I would say, is to start budgeting. I am a literal broken record when it comes to any tip video that I give. I always find a way to include a budget in there. You would think that I am like selling my budget plan or something because of how much I talk about budgeting, but I am serious. It is the number one thing that you need to do, especially if you are going through a transition in your life, which quitting your job would be one of them. If you haven't already started budgeting, you need to start budgeting. So what I would do is I would sit down, make a budget, and see where you can cut expenses, see where you are spending too much money, because when you quit your job and you go through a transition, typically you go through a transition with your finances. You might be taking a pay cut, you might be having a gap where you're not getting paid for a month or so, you might not be 100% sure that you're having a steady income coming in yet. So I would just make sure that you really fully understand your budget and how much money you're spending and trying to save anywhere possible. Whenever I go through my budget, there's always a new subscription that I realize I need to cancel, or there's always a revelation that comes to me that I'm like, whoa, I'm spending way too much money on that, so that the next month I don't spend that money. Budgeting just helps view your finances from a bird's eye bird's eye view, is that the expression? From a bird's eye view, so you can make sure that you are appropriately spending money. Number 3 kind of goes hand in hand in that, but it is to save money. Again, one of my issues about those videos that just tell you to quit your job on a whim is the fact that they don't account saving and how much you should save ahead of time. How much you should save is definitely up to you and your lifestyle, but I personally recommend at least 6 months of expenses because it might be an adjustment period for you and you don't want to go into debt just because you quit your job and wanted to make a lifestyle change. I had saved up, and I'm being totally transparent, an entire year's salary. I saved up 12 months of my salary when I quit my job. Most people might not be able to do that. I fully understand that, but I have been working on my YouTube channel for 8 years. I had been saving money, and I finally got to a point where I was making more money on YouTube than I was at my job, and I realized I can just save my salary, and that way when I quit, I have enough money that even if I don't make $1 for another year, I have this to live on. Thankfully that didn't happen, but I was prepared just in case. So if I were you, I would save at least 6 months of living expenses if possible before you quit your job. I know it's not possible for everyone, but that is just my recommendation. And even if you can't save 6 months, at least have something. You don't want to go through this transition, quit, and then you immediately have to figure out a way to make money like the very next month. You want to have a little bit of cushion in case that doesn't happen and in case your plan doesn't work out. Number 4 is to build up income, build up a client list, build up your business. I'm one of those people who I definitely recommend to start a side hustle while you are at your job so that when it comes down to it, you can quit and transition and still have an income. You're not going from making a salary to making $0 and trying to figure it out. That is why I recommend starting a side hustle, starting a business when you are still at your full-time job. It's going to be difficult, it's going to be time consuming, you're gonna feel like you have no life for a while, but I promise you it's gonna make that transition a lot easier, and I can tell you that it did for me. Like I said, I did have an income coming in and I was working on my YouTube channel, but for me, it was so freaking hard to work on both at the same time. I felt so overwhelmed, I felt so anxious all the time. I was just not, I was working a lot on my YouTube channel, social media stuff, and then also at my full-time job. But I cannot tell you how worth it was in the end. Those few months of me doing pretty much full-time YouTube and full-time Accenture were hard, and you know, I had some sleepless nights, I had a lot of stress, I did have a lot of anxiety, and I'm not promoting hustle culture at all, but I do think there are periods in your life where you're gonna need to work a little harder than you're used to. You're gonna need to put in a few more hours than you're used to because you want to make your goal and your dream come true, which would be, in this case, quitting your job and doing something else full-time. I know I had friends who had quit their jobs and they kind of started their own businesses, and they already had a client list lined up for them for when they quit their job. That is something I think that is huge as well. As long as you know you have clients, you have income coming in, you have appointments that are booked, you have sponsorships in my case that are coming in, that is what you need to know before you quit your job and make that transition. And it's going to be the easiest when you have a full-time job and you're working on your side hustle at the same time. So I just highly recommend that if you are someone who wants to quit and wants to do your own thing when you quit, whatever you want to do afterwards, start it while you're at your full-time job so that you can have that transition, and it's going to be a little more seamless than just going from making money to making no money and trying to figure it out. Because when you do start a business, it also takes time to make money. It takes time to grow an income when you start your business. So you want to make sure that you start growing that income and start growing that business while you still have that cushion of that other job. Next tip that I have is to figure out your goal for when you are going to quit. I think that having a goal of quitting is great, but figuring out an exact time that you're going to quit is even better, and it makes it more realistic. If you just keep saying, I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna quit, I'm gonna quit, but you never know when that time is gonna be, it's probably not gonna happen, or you're just gonna have a breaking point. I would set a goal. I remember my goal was the second I made a certain amount of money on YouTube, I was quitting and I was done. $50,000. I want to be making $30,000. I want to be making double. I want to be making my exact salary. Whatever your goal is, have that be a number so that when you hit it, you finally realize, okay, I'm ready and I can quit. Because a lot of times I think if you just don't have a goal in mind and you're just like, I just want to quit, I just want to quit, it's just never going to happen. So having that goal, having a numerical goal, whether it's number of clients, revenue, income, whatever, figure that out before you decide to make that decision. And the last tip that I have is not to burn any bridges. You do not want to burn any bridges at your work. I always recommend quitting in the most professional way. While you are at your current job, do a good job while you're there. You don't want to burn bridges. You don't want people to hate you. You also don't ever want to, have that relationship be severed. So like if you do need a job in the future, that you wouldn't be able to go back there, or you wouldn't be able to get a letter of recommendation. Like you want to still have good relationships with your previous employers. I am such a big advocate of that. I think it could be very powerful to, make a statement and be like, I'm done, like F everything, I quit. But I just wouldn't recommend it. You also just never know what's going to happen in the future. If you do need to go back to work, you want to have a good reference. So I always recommend not to burn bridges. I remember when I quit my job, everyone was pretty much prepared for me to quit. They all understood, but I will never forget my manager telling me, if you need a job in the future, I don't care what company I work for, call me and I will get you a job. That was one of the most profound, powerful things that she could have told me when I quit, because I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like I never wanted her to be upset at me. I didn't want her to think that, I wasn't a good worker because I was quitting. None of that. I made sure that I left on really, really, really good terms. I made the transition easy for them. I was so grateful for working at that company, for them to give me employment in the first place. And now I know that if I ever need to go back to work, I can use her as a reference. I can call her, I can see where she's at, and I can hopefully get another job pretty easily. So that's just another thing not to burn bridges whenever you are deciding to quit. I also wanted to include some stories of some other people that had recently made that transition, quit their job, found another job, and I wanted to include it in this video so that you're not just getting my perspective, because I do think some people might be watching this video and eye rolling, being like, oh my gosh, like I don't relate to you at all. You just do social media, blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to include other people so that you can see that it is possible. You don't need to be an influencer to quit your job. Like you can literally quit and do your own business, and there's so many people that do that every single year. But the key is, what did they do before quitting? Because it's so important to prepare and not just quit on a whim.
Hi, my name is Jane. I'm a personal trainer. I used to work at a corporate gym, and then I quit my job in April to work full-time for myself. Prior to quitting though, I was working like part-time for myself and part-time for the gym, so that created a smoother transition, I think, because I had a really solid foundation, and then I just had to expand on it so that I could really fill up my schedule. Yeah, I mean, I had a rough time quitting, honestly. I went back and forth on it for so many months because I really liked my team. I really loved my job, so that was hard for me to walk away from. What I wanted was just more flexibility, and I've always wanted to work for myself, and so that was really the reason that I left. And then the second thing that stopped me from quitting earlier was just that I felt like when I quit, I was gonna lose all sense of security. So when I was at my corporate gym, if I lost a client, or if a client went out of town for 2 weeks, I could still make more money. So they would connect me with new people if I needed to fill a client, or I could pick up, shifts at the gym if I needed to. So there was just always that safety net. So before I quit, what I decided I needed to do was create these safety nets for myself so that, I wouldn't be freaking out if I lost a client or someone went on vacation or whatever it is. So first thing I did was build up an emergency fund. So I just started saving up money and organizing it so that if anything happened, I could still pay my rent and I could still get groceries, and it wouldn't be so stressful, because life happens sometimes. Second thing I did was create contracts for my current clients. So I created a cancellation policy, and different systems were put into place so that if someone wanted to discontinue personal training, or if they had a vacation coming up, or whatever it is, there were systems in place so that the communication was very clear, and I had ample time to prepare for that change in my income. And then third thing I did was create a wait list of clients so that, again, if I lost a client, I still have a pool of people to talk to and to see who can fill the gap. And with that, creating that wait list, I feel like social media was such an important part of that, because I was able to reach so many people that I don't think, especially in the pandemic, like I would not have been able to reach that many people just in my everyday life. So I like really doubled down on social media and tried to expand in that way. So yeah, that was like the safety nets that I created. And even with all of that, I honestly still didn't feel super secure in leaving. I still was just really anxious about the transition and never felt 100% ready. I was just getting really busy with my private business that it didn't make sense to do both anymore, because I felt pulled in two completely different directions and felt like I was spreading myself so thin between these two things that I wasn't doing either of them well, and I knew that one of them had to go, and it was always in my plan to work for myself, so that's just the time that it made the most sense.
Hi, my name is Avery. I am born and raised in Tampa, Florida. I've been a micro-influencer since I think my freshman year of college is when I started out doing a little bit of that, and it's kind of just stuck ever since, and it's what I've always been passionate about. When I graduated, I applied for a position with an affiliate marketing agency, and one of my friends worked there, so he put in a good word for me, and I ended up landing that role. So I worked in affiliate, which is basically, from an influencer standpoint, the links that are commissionable or that you use when consumers are purchasing a product. But I just felt like the role wasn't creative enough, and I wasn't loving sitting at a desk from 9 to 5 every day. I remember actually watching Natalie's video of why and how she quit her job. It was just like so inspiring, and I think in that moment I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna quit next month. So I stayed with that company for 7 months. I was living at home at the time, and I made sure to have, of course, enough money saved up and still have money coming in, which was from Instagram, just like the micro-influencer stuff that I was doing. So I was able to continue to make money from that, which wasn't as much as I was making at my full-time job. So after I quit the next month, I searched for opportunities all over LinkedIn. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. I was thinking like managing people's social media accounts because I'm so passionate about that, but it ended up turning into something completely different. I like started my website with different packages of what I would offer for social media clients, and honestly, no one was really interested in that, but I did have a friend who works for a clothing brand, a huge one that you guys probably know. She does influencer marketing for them, and she was like, oh, our agency that we work through is looking for a freelancer. So she gave them my name. I ended up just applying, having a phone call with them, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to try you out. And I like had no idea what to set my rate at. I had never really been in that kind of position before, and it was really nerve-wracking, but I still work for that agency. I think it's been a couple months now. I love doing that. Then I was like, you know, I think I'm ready to take on another freelance client. So I went back on LinkedIn, applied for an agency in New York to do influencer marketing as well. I ended up starting there. So this woman reached out to me who found me on LinkedIn, and she asked me if I would be interested in running a few of her affiliate accounts. She's an agency where she does fashion and beauty marketing, e-commerce, branding, all of that type of stuff. I thought it was super cool because like that's kind of what I want to do eventually one day, is have my own agency like that. So it's kind of like full circle. I like that I'm still in affiliate because I love having experience in all these different areas. But yeah, so I'm pretty much working for like 3 different agencies as a freelancer, and then doing my own thing on the side with Instagram. And I also do a little bit of photography here and there. I don't know where my freelance journey will take me, but I'm super excited about it. I love working for myself. I love setting my own hours, being able to travel whenever I want and work from anywhere. It's just been so amazing, and if it's something you're considering, I would definitely recommend it.
But anyways, that was it for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed this, and if you are someone that's quitting your job, please let me know and share your experience down below. I definitely recommend preparing before quitting and knowing what you're signing up for, but I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that this came at a good time for some of you. I hope that this video is a sign as well for some of you that are maybe making that preparation to quit your job. And I also hope that, you know, if even if you're not quitting your job but you want to down the line, that this video could inspire you and help you prepare in a really, really smart way. Anyways, I wanted to thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.